Scrapbook titles are something we use on almost every page, so I thought it'd be a great idea to do kind of a compilation video where I share 12 different ways that I have made titles. I'm going to share lots of artwork samples with you and even do some demonstrations for things that you might not know how to do, or there might be certain steps in the process that you haven't done before, and I thought that might be helpful. If you have trouble deciding on a title, just coming up with the words for a title, I highly suggest just Googling it. Putting into Google scrapbook page title ideas for winter layout or whatever your topic is on, and then see the list that pops up after that. Sometimes you'll get links to like Pinterest posts, but now that there's like the AI portion of Google, you'll usually get like a list at the very beginning. And there's usually some good ideas on there. If you want to try and go a little bit deeper, you can refine your search or use something like ChatGPT to maybe come up with some more unique ideas until you find one that you really like. Now, I have a lot to share with you, lots of artwork samples, so let's jump in and get started. My first way of adding a title to my page is with stamping. So this Festive Memories here is stamped right on the background, and this is one solid stamp, but you could also mix different stamps to create a title. Stampin' Up! Comes out with sets that are designed for scrapbooking that go with the different collections, and a lot of times they have nice titles like this that you can just stamp the whole title in one pass. Now, it can be kind of tricky if you're not used to stamping to maybe create a whole page and stamp on your almost completed page. So something that you can do to make that easier on yourself is to use a stamp platform. I have the Tim Holtz one, which has since been discontinued, but I like that this one has open sides so that I can stamp anywhere on my page and I'm not restricted by size. I know the Misty also has a 12-inch version, which would be helpful because then you could stamp anywhere on your page as well. If you don't get a perfect impression the first time, ink it up again and stamp it once more to get a solid impression. Now, if you are nervous about stamping right on your page, this could be a good option. This is a retired close to my heart one, but it has a coordinating die. So if you look for stamps that have a coordinating die, that way if you mess it up, it's okay. You just get another piece and do it again. You're not stamping right on the base of your page. You can also do something like this layout. I've used quite a small stamp, which sometimes is easier to get a nice clean impression. You want to make sure you're stamping on a solid surface like a wood table. If you're stamping on a plastic table, those tend to give in the middle. So I always like to put some foam underneath just to give it the extra cushion and make sure I get a clean impression. I like this example because the title doesn't always have to be huge. It can be a small addition to your page instead of being a big element. Now, if you do want to stamp right on your base pages and you're a little bit nervous about it, something good to do is to lay out your pieces, stamp your title, and once you're happy with how it looks, then you can go ahead and adhere all the pieces around it. That way you get the placement correct because you had your pieces kind of laid out where you wanted them, but you don't have to go through peeling everything off if you mess it up. Stamping is just one of those things that it gets easier and better the more you do it. You can see here I also have other stamping on my page. I filled in the background with some splatter, and I also have stamped embellishments. So stamps work for way more than just titles, but that is what we're focusing on here. There was once upon a time when I never used to stamp on my pages. I used a ton of stickers and die cuts, even Cricut cuts, but I rarely stamped. And then I actually had a friend mention it to me, asking me for some more examples of stamping on pages because they were buying all these stamps and not using them on their pages. Since then, I have done way more stamping on my pages and I really love it. It gives you so much flexibility because you're not stuck with whatever color that one die cut comes in or that one sticker comes in. You can use that same stamp over and over again. This is a great one from the Weekend Adventures set, and I love this title. You could use it for so many different things. One thing to keep in mind if you are using a block instead of a stamp platform is to try and pick a block that's the closest to your stamped image. So this is the Taking the Scenic Route, and I tried to pick a block that fit it pretty closely. The more block you have hanging out past your stamp, the more likely you are to accidentally get ink on it when you're inking up your stamp and then transferring that to your page if you rock it at all. So try and ink it and then stamp straight down, or you can even look at your block, take like a little wipe and wipe off any excess if you tend to have a problem with transferring ink on the sides of your block. Now, of course, if you do make a mistake, you can always hide it, especially if you're stamping on cardstock, white cardstock. You can easily put a die cut shape over top to hide that mistake and stamp on top of the die cut shape, or just add another layer to hide that whoops. And always do a test stamping, especially if it's a brand new stamp that you've never used before. Stamp on scrap paper, test it out, make sure that it's working properly. A lot of stamps, especially the photopolymer, need to be seasoned, so just rubbing them on your skin or rubbing them with a eraser will really help to get any film that's on them from the manufacturing process. Here's one where I actually used alphabet stamps. I don't use alphabet stamps as much anymore. I used to use them a ton because that was my only way to make titles. But I did not go back that far in my archives. These are all more recent layouts from the last few years. But this one here has coordinating dies. So I was able to stamp the letters, die cut them, and then pop them up. And then I combined it with some die cut letters as well. A lot of the pages that I'm showing you in this video, I do have process videos for them. So I've gone ahead and made a special playlist, and it is linked down in the description box below. Just click on the See More. And there will be a link in there for the playlist, and any layouts that I'm showing that do have a video will be linked there. Now, I don't have videos for every single layout because I do share layouts just with my customers in my customer group. We do Zooms together, and I don't usually have a video for those ones besides my live Zoom video, which I don't put on YouTube. So there are a few that don't have videos, but a lot of these ones do. Okay, we have talked stamping. Now, a slightly different twist on stamping. This is my second way, which is stamping on a die cut. I think if you are just starting out with stamping, this is your easiest bet. Like I said, if you stamp on a die cut and it doesn't work out, you can always swap that out and stamp it again. So here's one where I stamped my title, and I also did some masking and stamped some cute little drink images there. And then I colored all of this in with markers. It's a really fun title and is definitely kind of a highlight of this page. This one is a little bit more recent. The cutest pumpkin in the patch. And you can see I have this stamped here. This is a retired close to my heart stamp, but this is one single image. You could put several stamps together if you want to, but this one came all as one piece, so everything is perfectly aligned. And then I used the Spotlight on Nature dies to stamp that on top of, making for a really quick and easy title. Here is another circle element. So we have little moments that matter here. These are some die cut fish that I stuck on top of this. But since I had the circle theme going on this page already, stamping on a circle really fit the feel of this page. And by putting this on a die cut, I was actually able to pop it up, use some dimensionals, and just add a little bit more depth to my page. So these next three layouts are all stamping on the exact same die cut. So this one here is a slimline die from Close to My Heart, so it's retired. But you know how sometimes you just find the perfect thing and you use it over and over again? This slimline die is that. It works great on layouts. So if you have slimline card dies, think about using those on your scrapbook pages because they are a great size. I love the little stitching and the scalloped edge on this, and I find this a perfect landing spot for either a title or journaling. Here I've also added some snowflakes and a little acrylic snowflake on there. But you can see I can just tuck it right under my photos, and it gives me a great spot to stamp. You don't always need an open spot on the base of your page. By using a die cut shape, you can really move that title around to anywhere that you want it. Here is a one-page layout where I've used that same die. You can see that same little edge there. I've used it to ground my photos, so my photos are kind of sitting on top of it. I have stamped my title, and then I've filled in with other stamped images and little die-cut images from the paper. Here's my last example with this die, And this is one solid stamp. So these are connected. It's from one of the Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking sets. Those just make for such easy title options, and then I just stamp it in whatever color coordinates with my page. One of the reasons I love stamping so much is that I don't really like my handwriting. I think it would be awesome to be able to take pens and paper and just make my own custom titles in whatever kind of font or word art that I want to use. This is something that I'm slowly but surely working towards, and I'm doing that by taking a class on Skillshare. Skillshare is the sponsor of this video. If you've never heard of them before, Skillshare is an online learning platform perfect for creatives. They have a huge catalog of classes on a wide range of topics like crafts, design, music, creative writing, and so much more. The classes are taught by world-class creatives, and many of them have multiple classes to choose from. It's like when you find an author that you love and you want to read everything that person has written. On Skillshare, you can binge watch your favorite creators and enjoy so many cool classes. I really enjoy Peggy Dean's classes, and the one I'm currently taking from her is called Fake Calligraphy, Create Faux Modern Lettering Like a Pro. This class appealed to me because it's short and it gave me a jump start with letter formation and some quick success without hours of work. Am I a hand lettering pro yet? Absolutely not. But with more practice, I can see this being something I really enjoy. There are also way more lettering classes on Skillshare, so if it's something I want to explore more deeply, I have lots of options. If you'd like to explore all that Skillshare has to offer, the first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a free month trial to Skillshare plus 20% off your first payment. Get started today and learn something new. I do love a good die cut, so mixing in dies with stamps is kind of like the perfect combination for me. Here I have actually die cut out of vellum using the party alphabet die. You're going to see this one a few times because I have fallen in love with this. It's currently right now when I'm filming out of stock, but it will be back in soon. And it's just such a classic font and really large, great for scrapbooking. And then I have mixed in this word Wonderland, which is stamped on this small die cut piece. So just another way to take what you have, mix it together, and come up with some pretty unique titles. Now I put this one in the stamp and die cut category because this little piece here could be stamped. To be honest with you, it's not, because I didn't have the exact word that I wanted in the right size and format. So this is printed off my computer in a coordinating color and then put over the die cut words. These are cut from black glitter paper, and then I've layered this over and added some dimensionals underneath just to give it a little bit of lift. I love layering up titles, and you're going to see that quite a bit in some of my examples. Now, you wouldn't necessarily need this here. You could choose one of these to be your title, or not have a main title and just have these words scattered around the page. But this helped to balance my design and kind of ground it. Plus, I thought it was pretty cute. Here's one where I have a die cut word. This bloom here is die cut and layered up. So you can see that there with the two different colors of pink cardstock. And then the where you're planted is stamped in green ink. This is from the Stampin' Up! Sweet Blooms bundle. But any of your die sets that are designed for card making and for maybe it to be like a focal word on a card can also make really good title options. Now this is a little bit different because this is not a die, but I have taken alphabet stamps and stamped the word first, and then haircut, I didn't have that in a die. That's not a very common word to need a die for, so I cut that out on my Cricut. Now I could have stacked several on top of each other to give it some dimension, but I just layered it over top, and I think that worked out pretty good. I had these little scissor dies. These were from Close to My Heart. I cut them out of gold foil, and then I have them just kind of cutting the title. I thought that looked really cute for first haircut. Okay, the next way is just all die cuts. So just die cuts for your titles. That can be alpha dies. This is the mini alphabet from Stampin' Up! I use this quite a bit. It's a good small size, especially if you have long words that you want to spell. And it cuts out in like one solid plate. So you get a lot of letters, and there are some repeats in here as well, like the T, the S, the R, the O. So lots of repeats for your common letters, which is nice. But another really great way to fit a title in on a die cut piece here. Now, when you are using die cuts, especially small alpha dies, you might want to use my little washi tape trick. So what I like to do is use my grid mat, line up all the letters that I want to use, make sure they're all along the same line, they're going straight. And then I take a piece of washi tape and quickly kind of put it down onto the letters. I don't want it to go too slow when I'm lowering it, because sometimes the static cling can kind of make the letters move around. But I use the washi tape to pick up the letters. I can flip it over, add some glue, and then put it down exactly where I want it. I find this so much easier than trying to line up every letter on my page and then gluing them down one by one. I'm usually much happier with this result. Now, I do tend to pull off my washi tape before the glue is fully dried, just in case I happen to get some glue oozing out the edges. I don't really want to wait too long and have my washi tape stuck to my page. Here is another example of using those little dies, the mini alpha dies, and I've mixed them in with a Cricut cut. This is covered in liquid glass, so that's why it's looking so shiny and dimensional. So this is cut off my Cricut, and then my dies are placed over here. Sometimes I find it easier to work with dies for like these little words like that than trying to find the right font to cut on the Cricut that isn't too narrow or anything. These ones cut out really beautifully. So another combination title, script, mixed with more of a plain font. This next one is from my scrapbooking workshop from last year with all these beautiful leaves. I do have this linked on the playlist. There are 2 more double page layouts that have similar titles. So I actually cut out those mini alphas from some specialty paper. And this is a copper paper, super pretty. I love how that looks. And I did use my washi tape trick to get it nice and straight. If you want to have a look at the other layouts, make sure you check out that video. Here's another example of dies. This time I have used that party alphabet with the mini alphabet, and those go together really well. This page was designed by my friend Julie Carrier. This is one of her workshop guides, and that's what she did for all the titles on her 3 double page layouts. She used this large alphabet mixed with this little one, and I think they go so well together. Now, of course, you can get all kinds of different alphabet dies. This one I actually used to frame my photos. This is the outline alphabet from Close to My Heart, and I cut it in 2 different papers. So the outlines go on separately. It's a little bit of a pain to assemble, but I think the finished look is definitely worth it. If you love all this kind of collage stamping in the background, I do have a video for this one so you can see all of that come together. But I love how my title really pops on this page and helps to draw your eye into the center. Now, don't forget about your word dies. You could mix word dies with alphabet dies. Here I've taken Merry and Bright. This is an old Close to My Heart one that is designed for cards, to do Merry and Bright on the front of your cards, but that totally works for a title. I have stacked up my die cuts. You can see here I have layers of white. I do this a ton when I'm using die cuts, especially for pages, because I want my title to really stand up off the page. So I have several layers of white cardstock stuck behind, cut with the die, and then my top layer I cut with gold foil paper. Now that is just so pretty. And if you don't have the right word dies, you might have one word die that works and then stamp the rest, or use alphabet dies to create the rest of your title. It just adds a little bit different look and is a great way to get more from those word dies. So another great option that I've only started doing in the last year or 2 are printing my titles on the computer. So whether you do that in a word processor or a program like Canva, this one is actually from my friend Julie Carrier's, one of her workshop guides. I'm going to show you 2 layouts from that guide. But this is printed out and then die cut with a die, and then also embossed with an embossing folder. Hopefully that texture is coming through. It's super cool. And I love that you can use so many different fonts to really find something that matches your page, matches the vibe of what you're trying to create. You also don't have to use black ink. You could totally use different colors if you have a color printer. Julie and I tend to stick with very basic colors when we are doing these printable titles for our scrapbook pages, for our guides, because not everybody has a color printer at home. So we try and keep it simple, but you could change up the colors in your title. You could have your highlighted, like her scripty ones here. You could totally have those in different colors to make them pop or stand out more, but it makes for some really easy titles. And if you insert the shape, so like a banner shape, a circle shape, whatever it is, onto your canvas, you can make sure that you are sizing everything correctly rather than cutting this as a strip and then trying to dovetail your ends after the fact. Here is an example from my recent workshop. This is the Elegant Pine Snowflake Collection, my Elegant Pine workshop guide that I just released. And you can see here I have a shape. So you could use a die for this instead of a printed shape, but I have a shape with my title. And that is all just printed off and then ink blended afterwards to add a little bit of color and a little bit of interest to it. One more from my celebratory SIPs workshop guide that I released earlier this year. This one is printed, but I hand cut it out. So I cut it out, leaving a little white border. So it almost looks like a word die. This does take a little bit of patience. You can see I left the insides on the E's, which isn't too big of a deal because I put it over white cardstock. Did that on purpose so that this would blend in with this. If I put a dark color here, all this white would stand out and it would look kind of unfinished. Now, I could have probably left the white here as well, but I wasn't sure what color a photo was going to be here, so I decided to cut that out with just a craft knife. But I wanted to show you that option of if you do your titles big enough, you can also just fussy cut them out. I'm using Canva to create a printable title. I'm just clicking on a new design here. I went with 8.5 by 11, and then I just want to go in and find a shape. So I'm going to go to Elements and search for a banner shape. You could use any kind of shape that you want, but I just want something to contain my title in. So here are some different shape options. I'm going to choose this simple kind of standard banner. And then I need to change the color. I want to make it white. You could do it in a color if you want to. And then I'm clicking on the border and I'm going to select a plain border and then go right down to like a 1 or a 2. I like to keep the borders pretty thin. And then I'll just adjust it on my page here. And I'm going to click on the little circles on the corners. Just pick one corner and pull it, and then you can make it bigger. Next step is to add a text box. I'm going over to text and then click on text box. And then I can just put that up inside the banner here. And of course, I'm going to need to change the size and I'm going to change the font as well. I'm just typing out a possible title, The Perfect Day. That's a nice general title that could work for a lot of different things. Now that my text is highlighted, I can go up and look at all the different font options. There are a ton in Canva. I'm just going to pick one just randomly and then just increase the size up on that control panel until I get to a size that looks like it fits pretty good inside my banner. Typically when I'm making these, I mess around with different fonts and sizes and stuff for a lot longer, but I'm just doing a test piece to show you how it works. I'm also going to adjust the line spacing. There was too much in between my lines, so I decreased the line space, and I think that looks a lot better. Now, when you are ready, you just go over to Share, and then click on Download, and then you can adjust how you want to print this: JPEG, PNG. I usually print as a PDF when I have these printables. Once it's downloaded, then you can go ahead and print like normal. Now, while we're talking fun things that we can do in Canva for our titles, let's talk about printing our title right on our photo. So one thing you're going to want is a photo that has empty space, whether that's a space of sky. Here, I had a bunch of floor in the foreground, which left me a perfect spot for a title. Sometimes I will purposely take photos where I leave space to either put journaling on my photo or to put a title. Both work. You need kind of an empty spot that's not busy in the background. But as you can see, that is just right on the photo. I have beautiful scripty font. I would not want to Cricut this out, that's for sure, but it can be as fine and intricate as I want because it's just printed right on top of my photo. Now, when you are printing your title onto a photo, you want to pick a color that has high contrast. So that last one was a very dark photo and I did it in white. This is a very bold blue, so I chose white as well. It's easy to click through and try different colors, see what pops against your photo. You can see here though, I have a nice big chunk of sky. It was the perfect photo to choose to put a title, or I could have also put a big chunk of journaling there as well. Since this is, I think it's around an 8.5 by 11, or just slightly smaller than that. Now down here, you might also see some words and think that I did that as well in Canva, but I did not. That is a stamp, and that is a great way to add words to photos if the kind of more techie stuff kind of freaks you out, or maybe you don't have a photo printer or you just don't want to go to that extra step to do it. As long as you have a good ink that you can use on slippery surfaces. Stays-on ink is my favorite. Usually you can also use like an archival ink, but you need to be very careful when stamping because you need to go straight down and straight up. And sometimes, depending on the finish of your photo paper, it can get very slippery and you could end up with a big smudge. So it wouldn't hurt to practice, especially if you have like a photo you printed that you're not going to be using. Practice stamping on it, and then you can get a feel for like how slippery the paper is that you're using. Sorry for the glare. I have a layout that's in one of my older albums and it's in a side load page protector, and those are a pain to get layouts out of. So I just wanted to show you another look at the stamping if you wanted to stamp on your photos. So this is a 12-inch long photo and I have stamped this whole title. Now this was a bit of a risk because this is all using close to my heart alphabet stamps. I have 2 different alphabets. This one like linked together. I don't remember the name of it. It's quite old. And then I used more of like a printed one below it. But I did use Stays-on ink for this. And you can get a similar look to printing it right on your photo. It might, you know, have a few more mistakes. The W on here is a little bit light at the top, but there was no way I was going to try and double stamp that. I also went ahead and stamped on some of my smaller photos. So I have happy stamped up there, I have smile stamped down here, and life is grand stamped down here in the sand. And you can see how this stamp stands out so much better because I had an empty spot in my layout compared to the smile. It's not too bad, but it is kind of stamped over top of my legs and it doesn't look as nice and neat and crisp, whereas these ones, I had a really good spot for them. One last option, if you don't want to stamp on your photos, you don't want to print on your photos, but you like the look, this one here, I actually used some paperboard embellishments. So these are dimensional, and you could do this with dies too if you have a die that would work, but it gives you a similar look, right? I have photo with a lot of sky. I might have chosen a different color if I wanted it to stand out a little bit more, but all my accents on this page were black, and I mean, I could have painted over it with like a metallic marker or something, but I liked the finish of it. But of course, when you're using like a product, like a pre-made product, like a paperboard die cut, you just have less color options. But it definitely achieves a similar look and it's a little bit easier. In Canva again, I'm going to go to Create, and this time I'm going to go down to Custom, and then I'm going to choose a 4x6 because I'm going to do a 4x6 photo, and this just makes it really easy to get everything the right size and see what the final product's going to look like. So I'm going to go over to Uploads. I have already uploaded a photo. To upload photos to Canva, you can drag them from your desktop into the Uploads, or there is an upload button there where you can select different files to bring in. I am just sizing my photo to make sure it fits well on my 4x6 canvas, just dragging the corners there and positioning it. I want to make sure it does go all the way to the edge and I don't have a little white edge, and then it's not cutting off too much of my photo. I added a text box, and now I'm just going to write my little wording in here that I want. I'm going to put lovely fall just for something that goes with this photo. And you can see the white there is popping pretty good against the background, so I think I'll stick with white, but I do want to change the size as well as the font. Now, if you were going to do journaling, you would do this the exact same way. I usually like simpler fonts for my journaling and more like scripty fonts for titles. So that's just kind of my rule of thumb. If you find that your letters are not popping against your background, you can also change the color, or you can add like drop shadows and things in here as well. Now, this is one option with a text box, putting in your own wording, but you can also go under elements and search for wording. I searched for fall, but it didn't come up with words. So I put in fall word art, and then I get a little bit more title options. I'm just going to quickly choose something so that I can show you what that looks like. It's basically like a sticker that you can put over top. I'm just going to delete the text box for now. Now, when I click on this graphic, you can see how there's little circle colors up on this control bar here. I want to go in and change those to white. This is not the ideal image because it has that little acorn that is kind of looking strange when I turn it to white. So I would pick one that is all just words, but I wanted to show you how you can use a graphic for this as well. Once you're happy with your design, you go to share like I showed you before, change it to either PNG or JPEG and download it, and then you're ready to print. These next three title options are going to be Cricut focused, which you can also achieve with a silhouette machine. If you do not have like an electronic die cutting machine, still stick around because I have a couple more low-tech ways to add titles after the Cricut section. So print and cut. This is something that I am fairly new to in the last couple years or so, but I really love using print and cut. I use primarily fonts that are system fonts. They are fonts that I've downloaded, usually for free from the internet, and then I've loaded them up on my computer and I can use them in my word processor. I can use them in Cricut. So I am not a subscriber to the Cricut Access, but you can also get Cricut Access or purchase fonts through Cricut to do things like this. So this is Tea at the Empress. Again, I love mixing my fonts, something pretty and scripty, and I just start playing around until I get a look that I like. I am going to show you how to do a print and cut, so stick around, but I want to show you some other examples first. This one is from a recent video, this mic drop moment. Same thing, I have a nice bold font down here, and then a scripty font just kind of overlapping it slightly. And I did pop this one up on my page to give it a little bit of dimension. Another option here with this page from Maui, Savoring Maui Magic. I colored it in a purple that matched the purple that is in the page. And it makes for a really quick title, a little bit quicker than doing a traditional Cricut cut where you cut and then you layer the pieces together. I like that these don't have extra gluing. One more print then cut because I couldn't resist. I love this title. So the world is her stage. I have a little performer. She loves putting on little shows and singing and dancing. And look at that fun title. Really cool. I love that I can use very delicate swirls with a print then cut. I don't need to worry about if that's going to cut out of my Cricut and how I'm going to glue it down. When you do the print and cut, you can do very delicate fonts and it still works out great. I'm in Cricut Design Space now and I've started a new project and I'm just going to select text and go up here to pick my text. This is actually the one I want to use. It's the one that I've been using with like the bold lettering and then the scripty font. Been using a lot lately. It's called Andalusia. I think I got it from Creative Fabrica, or it might be defont.com, but I'm pretty sure it was Creative Fabrica. Those are usually the two that I go between. But any kind of elongated, kind of scripty handwritten font would totally work. I wrote out memories and then I just selected Unite to get it all stuck together as one word and then stretched it out to make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it better. Now for the offset, I'm just adjusting the offset. I don't want it too big, but enough of a border so that it stands out. Once I'm happy with that, then I'll just click apply and then I'll have my offset. And I want to change that to white. I typically always have my offsets as white. And then I need to adjust this and switch from a cut, a basic cut, to a print then cut. So you have to make sure you click both of them, change them both to print then cut, otherwise one will cut and one will print then cut. Now I'm going to highlight both of them and I'm going to go to attach so they stay together where I want them, and then I'm going to flatten so they print as one piece. I always recommend saving your projects so that you can come back to them, or if something goes wrong while you're in the printing process, then you don't lose your whole thing. This is how it pops up. If you're happy with the placement, just click continue, and then here you send it to your printer. I'll just click next on this little message, and then I want to adjust which printer I'm sending it to. And I'm also going to use the dialog box because I need to change the kind of paper I'm using. So for my printer, I come down here to media and I just go to rear tray so the cardstock can go straight through. The best setting for me is a semi-gloss paper, and then I can just click print. Once it prints out, then you select what kind of cardstock you're printing or cutting on, and then you can load your mat and push play like you normally would for your Cricut. Next, I'm going to show you some examples of mixing print then cuts with die cuts. One of my favorite things to do lately, I have several samples of this. I'm using that party alphabet die here, and then these really scripty words are done in the print then cut because I didn't want to have to try and die cut those. This way they just print out, they cut out that outline very easily, and then I can layer them over top of my big chunky title. Here is another example of that exact same thing. So here we go, we have the big chunky letters, and then I've popped this one up. So it has some dimension, it's on dimensionals. These are down flat. I didn't stack them or anything. I've also added some rub-ons over top of them or just around them. It's such a fun combination, so much fun. This one I just showed in my recent layout share from the Creative Design Team membership. And this one is again with those party alphabet letters, which I have backed with the same letters cut out in gold foil to add a little like foil highlight to them or drop shadow. And then I have the Easter egg in that same font going across. This time it's a little bit higher. It's not through the middle, it's not through the bottom. It's a little bit higher, and I find that depends on what letters you're using, what big letters are making up your title, because you don't want these to hide important parts, or it's kind of hard to read what your title is underneath. Like people can kind of make it out, but you kind of need to pay attention to what letters you're using and where it looks best with those specific letters. Okay, this one is a little bit of a different twist. So this is not a die cut, but it is traditional Cricut cuts layered with print then cut. So down here, that fine print that would really suck to have to cut out, that is print then cut. Then I have that on a white offset that goes around my whole thing. So that is like one piece. And then these are cut from cardstock. I have two layers here, the main word, and then that is an offset. And then those two are stuck together and popped up on my print then cut, and then that piece is popped up. So this is definitely a dimensional title. I don't usually do pieces that are this thick in my album, but I just loved the way it looked, and I could not restrain myself. I just had to do it. But that is another option of mixing in a traditional cut with a print then cut. And this is what I like to do, especially if I want to use specialty paper like glitter paper, foil paper. I will cut that top layer out and then do print and cut for the other layer just to make it a little bit easier. We are back in Design Space, and I want to show you how to do a combined basic cut with a print then cut, kind of like that Fairmont title, but simplified. So I have my large word that I'm going to have on my title, the word beautiful. This should cut out pretty well, so this is going to stay a basic cut. I'm not going to change it to a print then cut. I want to have an offset on it, so I'm going to go ahead and choose my size for that. I'm going to change it to white, and then I want to select them both and increase the size. Now I'm going to add another text box. This is going to be the second part of my title, and this part I am going to change to a print and cut. So I'm going to change my font, pick something else, something a little bit scripty. And then I will add my word in here. I'm going to put in memories, so it says beautiful memories. And then I want to add an offset to this too, because I'm going to attach the two offsets together, and that will be my big white border that goes around everything. Once I select my size, I just hit apply, and then I want to change the color of that offset, and I'll make it white. Now I need to change this to a print and cut. So I want to change my offset that's behind memories, the word memories, and the white offset that is behind the word beautiful to a print and cut. The only thing that's not getting changed is the actual word beautiful. Now with those white offsets, when you change them to the print and cut, they lose the little border around them. And so they kind of disappear, which makes it hard to see on here. But I can select them from the side menu, and I am going to select both offsets and I want to unite them. I want them to be one solid piece. And when I do that, it moves the word beautiful to the back. So I just need to go to arrange and bring it forward again. And I realize it's hard to see the offset, so I'm going to change it to a light gray just for the demonstration purposes. If I was actually printing and cutting, I would leave that white. Now I realize it did not line up the word memories exactly in the middle where I wanted it, so I'm going to go undo the unite so that I can move those pieces separately. And I just want to deselect and then reselect just the word memories and its offset, and then I can play with it and adjust it. Once I'm happy with the placement, then I just need to highlight both offsets and unite those again so they are one piece. And then I can highlight the word memories and the offsets, and I can attach those and flatten them. Then we are ready to make. And now, because this is gray, you can see how the print and cut is going to come out with the memories printed. And it would be a white offset, but it's gray here so you can see it. And then the word beautiful will cut out separately. And I'll just use glue to attach that to the rest of my title. Next up, we have our standard Cricut cut title. This might be more what you think of when you think of a Cricut cut. So here I have my words all cut out of cardstock. This one is cut out of gold foil. That is on an offset. That's what the white is the offset layer. And then I did another offset layer and cut that from pink glitter paper. Isn't that beautiful? Super dimensional. If you wanted it extra dimensional, you could even pop up these, but I was not messing around with that. I figured one layer of dimension was enough, but I love how you can mix in specialty papers when you actually do a cut instead of a print and cut. You just have to keep an eye on how delicate. I was a little nervous this O would not cut properly, but it actually came out all right. Just want to make sure you select the right kind of paper that your Cricut is cutting from. Here is another one. This is an Easter page, and I have cut out other things from my Cricut. The little grass, the background are Cricut cuts. But there is my title. I have a white offset, and then the teal Easter and the yellow happy, just layered together, just cardstock on cardstock. Here's one where I have mixed dyes with Cricut cut. So again, using the specialty paper, I have silver glitter paper layered over a blue cardstock. And then I have my little mini alphabet dies there filling in the word sweet. I could have also done a print and cut or a print and cut combined with a regular cut to achieve something similar. The next way to create a title is with a pocket card. Now here I have today was a good day. Those generic ones are really nice because you can use them for all kinds of things. This is actually the layout that I shared for my presentation at Stampin' Up! Last on stage. I thought I had already shared it in a video, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I thought I'd share it in here because I did use a pocket card. This is also a pattern pocket card right behind it. Another pocket card over here with my journaling on it. And other than that, I haven't been using pocket cards for my titles that much lately. So I'm gonna bring in an album and show you a couple of examples from some older layouts. So I apologize for the glare. I'll try and minimize that as much as I can. But you can see here I have a 4x6 pocket card next to a 4x6 photo. And I'll just slide this over so you can see the rest of the layout. We have a nice little grid on this other page. It really does make your titles fast and easy. And if they go with the collection you're working with, then you know they already match and kind of match the vibe or the style of the paper that you're using. Here is another example. So here I have a 4x3 pocket card, and that is actually my title for this page. I have another pocket card for my journaling, and then like a stamped embellishment down over on this side, and then just some beautiful paper on show there in the background. Let's see if I can get the glare off of there for you guys. So really simple title. They don't always have to be huge or the star of the show. They can kind of be a supporting piece to your layout as well. Now for our 12th way to do a title, I'm bringing in a layout from my Peaceful Days scrapbooking workshop guide. This is one that I did recently, and it's a perfect illustration of something that I have done over and over and over again, sticker titles. So I have many years of making scrapbooking workshops with my customers, and usually either they are a die cut or a sticker, and quite often a sticker. So when I was looking through my pages, I found tons of options with sticker titles. It was kind of hard to narrow it down, but I thought I would share this one with you. Stickers are such a good option for your titles. They make it easy. If they coordinate with the collection that you're using, it's really a no-brainer. You can either stick them flat on your page. I quite often like to pop them up. So I will put like foam tape or dimensionals behind them, just like I did here, to give it a little bit of lift. I don't like a ton of dimension on my pages anymore, but I do like to have just a little bit of dimension. Here is another option from a recent video. This was from a big scrapbooking kit, the Make a Memory kit. And I have a ton of sticker titles from that. They are all sticker titles, I think pretty much all the layouts I made. But this one I combined several stickers. Again, I have like more of a printed word and a more scripty word. And this one I actually worked in 3 words and just stacked them kind of on top of each other. These are not popped up because that is just too much of a headache. If I was going to use a die for this kind of title, then I would probably die cut it several times and stack it. But this was quick, easy, and I think it fits my layout perfectly. Another option for sticker title, Tropical Vibes. Tilt that so you can kind of see it a little bit better there. These came on the sticker sheet for this collection. This is a Close to My Heart collection. And of course I went and made like a fun mixed media background. I believe this is one that I taught in the CDT membership. And then I have kind of a subtitle over here with another sticker. Stickers can be a great way to just pull together a layout super fast, especially when you want to do like fun stuff on your background. And it makes the rest of your process a little bit faster. Here's one from the Traditions of Christmas scrapbooking workshop from Stampin' Up. This is a recent one that I just made with my customers. And you can see I have quite a few stickers. This is like one large sticker, and then I have several stickers all layered together. That is a great option for layering up a title as well. I wanted to show you this option. I used letter stickers for this title. That is not something that I have a lot in my collection because I prefer to cut my own and be able to cut exactly what I need. But if you do have letter stickers, keep in mind that you can always jazz them up. So you see on here all these white highlights. I did that with a white pen, and I feel like it really took them to the next level, made it interesting. It matched the white highlights that I put other places, plus the hand-drawn look of the embellishments for this page. So there are ways that you can jazz up your stickers. If you feel like they need a little something extra, you can add some glitter to them. You can add some dimensionals and pop them up, or some white pen details, and it just makes them a little bit extra special. I hope this video was super informative and it gave you lots of different ways that you could create a title. If you want to check out any of the layouts that I have videos for, you can click right here on this playlist and go watch those next. And I'll see you soon with another video.